Hello, my name is Nicholas. I work with the Northwest Astrological Conference, which is called NORWAC, which is happening May 21st to May 25th, 2026, just outside of Seattle. The 42nd NORWAC conference. This is just amazing. No breaks. There's been no breaks. There was an online break during the pandemic, but think about this. 47 straight years of an event, an astrological event, one of the pillars in our community is happening. You can go to norwac.net to get more info in person or if you want to watch online. Hi, Demetra.
Hi, Nicholas.
We're here
I
again,
was,
aren't we?
I know, I was smiling 47 years. I didn't go to the very first NORWAC, but I was there by the second one, not as a speaker, but as a brand new wide-eyed astrologer. Uh,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
and
And just to
watching some of the people who were the stars at that moment, like walk across the hallways and the lobby and just be in total awe.
yeah, yeah,
So,
I it's
and
and
it's,
there's just
it's,
to say it's the 42nd
yeah.
NORWAC. You just reminded me of my first times and being in awe of certain people. Like, oh my God, I have that person's book, and that's the person influenced my world, and they're
Yeah.
right there. And I hope that's not lost. I don't think it is lost actually, because I meet people every year, even these days with
Mhm.
social media and the internet, and we have YouTube videos. I see
Mhm.
people walk in through the doors, and they have that look on their face, and then I see the look on their face Friday night. And then the look on their face Saturday night, and then you see the transformation happen.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
see the thing, and I think that's a huge part of what NORWAC is,
yeah.
that magic that happens.
Mhm.
Um, you'll be speaking here several times at the conference, Demetra. You have an awesome pre-conference lecture you're going to do here on Friday, May 22nd, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific. Your pre-conference workshop is called the Star of Hermes, just up my alley, by the way, the Star of Hermes. A broad overview of the god, the planet Mercury, and the double-bodied asteroid Hermes. You want to tell us a little bit about?
But about the presentation of the
Yeah,
double-bodied asteroid Hermes.
yes.
Okay, well, the presentation, um, I'm starting off with it is archetypal myths from Babylonia and Egypt and Greece and the fusion into Hermes Trismegistus. But the piece I'm most interested in is how often the planet Mercury changes its visibility. It goes from invisible to visible as it's making its risings and settings. And that happens 12 times a year. And so, what I want to do is to go through Mercury's cycle with all of its phases and to note when those changes happen astronomically. And then, as I've done with the other workshops at NORWAC, taking examples from the audience and to help people determine A, what their phase is, in particular, interested in who is born right at the moment when that planet does its shape shifting, when it like goes between the upper world and the underworld, or it, you know, goes through the enemy camp, mazing itself and making itself invisible for clear passage, as he did in the Iliad, and to sort of draw out the interpretive meaning of those critical places. So that's what I'm hoping to do in the workshop.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's interesting here too, with a planet like Mercury or Hermes too. Even if someone's not like a distinctly like an astrologer studying,
Yeah.
you meet other people in the esoteric occult world. Mercury is the thing. It's the main
Oh,
pillar in alchemy and everything, right?
right, right. He
Yeah.
was, the fountainhead of astrology, of alchemy, of magic,
Hmm.
and of a whole body of spiritual philosophy.
Yeah.
And so he's much bigger than just the planet of communication. He has this um, awesome role as a mediator between, the heavens, the earth, the underworld, the easy passageway of crossing boundaries, of being familiar in different worlds. And we see that in how Mercury is described in Hellenistic astrology. It can belong to the day sect or the night sect. It can be the masculine gender, the feminine gender. Um, he can be wet, he can be dry,
Hmm.
and so on through all the categories. And it speaks to his ability to be familiar and comfortable and one with whatever environment or situation or different world or realm or country he finds himself in. So, what's like the inner nature of an energy, a character, a being that has that degree of being at one with all?
Yeah, no, no. Well said. Well said.
Mhm.
As you know, I'm a big fan. I it just takes over my world all the time. Life, I'm like, well, I'm living
Right.
this certain life. I'm living the Hermes life. I've gotten
Yeah.
used to it. I remember as I will say one thing when I was a kid. I was a kid in Chicago, and I remember there's times, many times alone walking on the streets, and there's times where, I should have been lost. Like I should have been lost walking the streets, Chicago, but I always found my way, and there was always interesting paths. And I think about my connection in my alone time when I was transversing through the streets of the world and what happened to my brain space, and it's almost meditative. So when you're talking about going back and forth and these certain things, and I'm talking to people out there too, or maybe massively like mercurially influenced like I am, there's something in the in-between place too.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes, if you can believe it, it's hard to describe what that is. So, but yeah, that's going to happen here on Friday. It's May 22nd, your pre-conference workshop, again, in person and online. I also know from experience from sitting in your workshops, you really do incorporate, everybody that's in your audience and stuff too. And that's,
Yeah, both the people there and the people online, and
yeah.
they're all invited to contribute their birth data, and we can look at their charts, like,
Yeah.
if they want, and to have it be a personal experience.
I'm sorry, one more thing popped up here.
Okay.
I had to
Me
say,
too. Oh,
we're
you go
recording.
first.
We're recording this for those who take outer body planets into their world. Uranus is about to go in Gemini. So, for the next 7.5 years, I think there's many of us, I already know, but many of us who are astrologers, I think have to come to understand Hermes and Mercury itself, because of it always has a role, but because Uranus will be there, we're going to be looking at charts constantly and seeing where Mercury is at the time and whether it's speeding really fast or slowing down or
Mhm.
stationing. I think becomes more important than ever, especially too with just what possibly could happen with the way that we connect with each other through technology, or what's the unknown that's
Yeah.
coming, and how we absorb that and how we
Mhm.
exchange that information. So I think your pre-conference lectures are just right on time, Demetra.
So let me just say one thing
Yes.
back to you about, okay, I'm sure maybe we've discussed this, but I was a kid in Chicago also. And I and I remember a situation in kindergarten where my school was maybe a 20-minute walk away from where I lived. And after school, I would walk with older children who lived in my neighborhood. But one day I came out of the class and they weren't there and I couldn't find them. And so I walked home by myself. And so I was like 5 years old. And it was like crossing like really busy streets.
Hmm.
And of course, my mother and my grandparents were just appalled that I had done that. But I was just like, okay, I know the way. I'm just
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
checking my way through that space. So in retrospect, I haven't really thought of that in many years, but that there was in Hermes, the asteroid Hermes, I have conjunct my Venus. So
Oh,
I have this thing of, okay, I love Hermes. I
yeah.
heart Hermes. And I felt in retrospect his presence, not a problem. We can get you home.
Yeah, always
We're
by your
here.
side, always there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Thank you for that story about Chicago, because someone who knows back when to walk through neighborhoods, to walk back from school, there's
Yeah.
something about it, the concrete, the certain thing, that's just the environment of what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But I feel you on that one. So yeah, that's Friday, and then Saturday you're going to do a lecture on. It's called Astrology: Passed Through Many Hands. Um, speaking of whirlwind armchair tour of the the many ancient lands and cultures where astrologers lived and traveled, passing on their teachings and leaving their footprints. And I mentioned this copy that you hear. It mentions all the different places lived and traveled through: Babylonia, Egypt, India, Greece, so on and so forth. So this is an interesting lecture. I've never even heard or seen this before from you.
Right. It's a takeoff on some of the work I've done on the history of astrology, but I've pushed it outward into different lands as well. And what I've been so impressed about, and all of a sudden, this whole section on the decant spontaneously obsessed me for about 10 days, developing it, of how it was an idea in ancient Egypt in like 2400 BCE, and counting how many different places the idea of the images of the decans went through all these different countries,
Mhm.
Of Egypt and the Greco-Roman Empire and the Persian Empire and India and back to Arabia and Europe, and counting out all of the people who wrote the text and who translated the text. And I must have come up with 75 names that we know
Oh, wow.
of people who were involved in that process. And that's sort of what I want to bring to the awe of contemporary astrologers. Oh, we have like some doctrine, some concept we're using. We just take it as like, oh, yeah, given this is part of astrology.
Yeah.
And how many people before you were involved in so many different places in the world, sort of holding that and passing it on, and just lineage. I guess it's really a talk on
Yeah, it's a lineage, and
the
it's something.
importance of lineage.
It's
Yeah.
something here, I think, in the last 10 years, especially too, because if I think about our colleague
Mhm.
and friend Austin Coppock, who,
Mhm.
wrote a book, a thing, and then how it's come back, and I've seen people also trying to source, and they're catching different definitions and languagings of
Yeah.
things. It also reminds me of your second book here on the houses that you've written too, because what I
Yeah.
really like about your book is you have this certain part where you go through history of how certain
Yeah.
astrologers defined each house.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're saying to me reminds me of this.
Yeah. It does. Like,
Yeah.
how is this idea passed on?
How is it
So
passed?
then I'm also pushing out into how did astrology get to Tibet, and looking at the flows from three different cultures,
Oh,
completely
wow.
different cultures coming into Tibet. So I'm doing a few of those vignettes on a
Oh,
world stage.
oh no, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
again, that happens Saturday, May 23rd,
Yeah.
10:30 Pacific. For anybody watching, you're interested, there's still some tickets to go in person if you can make it up to Seattle, outside of Seattle. And for those who are interested in doing it online, just go to norwac.net. You can buy a whole weekend pass to be for the whole conference. You can do day by day. You can just attend Demetra's pre-conference solo if you wanted to. There's different rates, different options for everybody. Just go to norwac.net. The interesting thing about the online part is for the last several years, myself and Laura, who runs the conference, Albanian, we kind of facilitate these Q&As in between the lecture
Mhm.
tracks. And you're going to be part of a Q&A that's going to happen on Sunday. I think I might be part of this one to observe and to help out, but your Q&A
Yeah.
happens at 10 a.m. You'll be
Mhm.
there, Demetra, with Maurice Fernandez, Sean Nygaard, and Redwood Narragon, another Pacific Northwest
Yes. Yeah.
astrologer out of Olympia. And so usually people come into the chat room and then they ask a couple questions, and the conversation kind of turns into something for the 20 minutes that it is, and they're always fascinating and interesting.
Yeah.
Again, I'll definitely be there helping on that one. Uh, for any information, if anybody's interested in all this stuff, you can go to norwac.net. Demetra, we think we met years ago at a NORWAC. Um, I always have interesting conversations with you there, like with all our colleagues. There's the lectures themselves and the things that we learn, but it's the conversations that we have with friends. And I've seen amazing things happen out of these conversations. And I've started to see it online too, even in chat rooms the last couple of years we've done
Mhm.
this. So again, I think it's part of the magic that we talked about in the beginning, like when you first walk through the building,
Yeah.
right? So I'm really psyched personally to be there again and to see you in person, Demetra.
Yeah, likewise. I've said to Laura, coming to Norwalk is like coming home for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, 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 it is. Yeah,
And it's just a feast of everyone's like brilliance and creativity and offerings, like all these wonderful dishes are there, of astrological delicacies, and just the warmth of connecting with people who have become like family, and new people that are welcomed into the family.
yep.
So it's a
That,
wonderful event.
yeah,
And I encourage you all to make an effort to get there if you can. And I look,
yeah, I'll be
yeah,
there. You know, too, for those on the Thursday before the conference, for those online, I'm going to have a little open house fun thing the Thursday before just to say hi
okay.
to everybody. And I think I'm going to try to do it from there before everything starts. There's a couple other things I'm going to do online with some other colleagues on there to just throw people off in a good way, you know, have fun
Yeah.
online. So, but yeah, anyway, anybody watching, if you're interested, again, you can go to norwac.net. Demetra, I'll see you very soon.
Okay. Okay.